This story, it happened to me in my home country of Russia quite some years ago. I was with two friends, Dmitry and Mikhail. I have been friends with both of them since baby school. We all share the same hobby of fishing. We are all big fishers. We have this dream that we've had since we were much younger, to go all over the world to the best spots and catch big fish. Where I grew up, it was a pretty rural and isolated village, so there really wasn't all that much to do for fun. My dad used to fish, and he taught me how, and it was how a lot of people got by. So anyway, in the pursuit of our dream, we decided that we were going to tackle a big lake we had not ever been to before. There is a big lake in Siberia called Lake Baikal, which is famous for omelfish and pike, and lots of people fish there all the time. It's very deep, and it spans so wide, you might as well be out on the ocean. We are from Rusalka Republic, and so quite a big distance away from Siberia. I had just recently lost my job, and lots of companies fired workers. Things were too costly, and low-level workers like me were the easiest things to cut from the company, to cut expenses. The other two, they were always lazy people, and they had a week away from their job for vacation. So we made the preparations to travel down. We had a nice cabin that we rented to stay in nearby, and we were going to tackle Lake Baikal over the first few days, and then go and do other things. The first 2 days fishing there was completely fine. We had a little rowboat, which was somehow strong enough to take us 3 big fucks, all the way out near the center of the lake. We caught 1 or 2 pike, but nothing seemed to be biting. There really were not that many people around when we were there either. It's weird because I heard it was a popular spot. It was the 3rd day fishing on the lake that everything went wrong. We suffered some setbacks, and it meant that we could not get out to the lake until quite late. This meant that darkness was already approaching when we started fishing, and it made for quite the spooky atmosphere. We had lights and other equipment to help us, so we were not too worried about that. Anyway, time passed by, a few hours of no bites, no sounds of anyone around. I was getting quite bored, and figured that we would not have any luck. But after a little while, I started to hear something strange. It sounded like a voice. Well, at first, it was hard to make out, because it sounded like it was muffled. Like the sound was coming from underneath the water or something, and was being drowned out. But eventually, it grew clearer, even though it was still coming from some distance away. It sounded like singing, really. It was quite high-pitched, but the person was not singing words. It sounded like someone just holding a note and then changing to a different note every so often. I turned to look around, and both of my friends were in shock, just like me. They were hearing it too, they confirmed it, and they were feeling weird about the sound. It's hard to describe the feeling that hearing this singing gave me. I obviously felt a little bit of panic deep down inside of me because, there should not be anyone here. But at the same time, it almost made me feel calm, at peace, I might even say. So, this panic and deep-seated dread, combined with this tranquility, it made me sweat. We had stopped paying attention to our fishing equipment by this point. We were still gripping the rods, but they were just hanging loosely, and I think even if a fish tugged, then I would not have realized it in that moment. The singing continued on for a little while, and as time passed by, I could make something out underneath the water. It was faint at first, and looked to be very deep, and blocked by the murky water. It was some kind of a light. It was this glowing light that looked almost red or yellow in color. Maybe it was orange, I can't fully remember. It was like someone had shot a flare from underneath the water up to the surface, because it looked to be glowing brighter and closer until it eventually just faded. Once it got really close, the singing just stopped abruptly, and the light was not in view anymore. It went from a bright glow to just nothing right before my eyes. This light underneath the lake, It was also pretty far out, but because of the brightness, you could not miss it. It's at this point that things began to get really strange. Since everything had stopped, we went back to focusing on fishing. We only spoke a few words about what we witnessed, and then we just wanted to move on. But Mikhail, he was acting really funny. He seemed to almost be in a daze or a trance, and was just staring off into the distance. I tried to talk to him, but he just would not snap out of it. He just kept mumbling something to himself, and he had such a big grin on his face. I'd never seen him look so happy in my entire life. And me, well, I had this itching feeling. My skin had started itching really badly all over my body, and it was like no matter what I tried, I could not get it to go away. My ears were the worst. Inside my ears just seemed to itch like crazy. I tried to put it out of my mind by focusing on the water, on catching a fish, but we've been out here for hours so far, with not so much as a ripple anywhere near our rods. It seemed kinda hopeless. I didn't think we'd catch anything at all. Until maybe 5 or 10 minutes later, I started to see something forming in the water, very lightly. There was something quite thick dispersing in the water, which started faint, but then it grew darker, and I knew instantly it was some kind of blood, but where it came from, I had no idea. Then all of a sudden, I see a huge ripple and a splash, and I jump back, and then I feel a tug on my rod, and it has some heavy pressure. I'm having to fight and tussle with it, and it takes a little while, but eventually, the pressure gives way all at the same time, and I easily pull the fish up after that. I was excited to finally get my first catch that day, until I pulled the fish up from underneath the water and took a closer look using my light. It was a pikefish, not really ultra big, but it had some decent weight to it. It took Dimitri's help for us to be able to get it onto the boat. And Mikhail, he snapped out of whatever daze he was in and started screaming like a little girl when we brought it on board. This pike fish, it had no head. The cut wasn't clean. It looked almost like it was bitten or torn off. The hook of my rod, it looked to have been taken and just jammed into the gaping wound deep enough so that it wouldn't just fall off the rod. There was blood just leaking from this thing onto the boat, and Mikhail was shouting, throw it away, it's bad luck, we're going to die." He was in a panic and a frenzy. I have no idea what had gotten into him. He practically jumped over me and pushed me out of the way just to grab that thing. He barely even had the strength to throw it over. He had to slide it up the side of the boat and let it just sink into the water, which left a horrible, lumpy trail of red all across the floor. It smelled horrible and made me want to puke. I hit that idiot for not consulting with me and Dimitri first. This idiot did not even do any of the work to catch the thing. At this point, Mikhail is begging us to go home. He is pleading with us and trying to make us start moving the boat. I'm wondering what's wrong with this guy so suddenly. Sure, it was a creepy situation, but there had to be a logical explanation for all of it. But he almost starts fighting with us. I tried to grab him and stop him, and he punched me in my ribs, and I got really, really mad. I started laying into him, but he started covering his ears and shaking his head, and he started screaming, saying that his ears hurt. I thought he was just trying to annoy me, and so that he did not have to hear me speak. So I decided, screw it. I'm there, punching him now, and all of a sudden, this shout just breaks the silence. It's faint at first, but eventually it grows clearer. It sounds like a woman. It sounds like she is calling for help, like literally just shouting "help me" over and over again. We are all looking around us and we cannot see anything, but eventually, Dimitri points to something in the water and tells us all to look. I can see something bobbing up and down just beneath the surface. There's clearly a disturbance in the water. and then something bobs up out of the water. I can see a head. It's clearly a woman. She is short of breath and struggling to breathe. She is calling for help, and it sounds like she's swallowed a lot of water. She is splashing and panicking, but how did she get out here? We are very far away from the shore. There is no way that she could have swam out here, and we had not seen any boats at all. We had lights, so there is no way that we would miss something like that. It would have been obvious. Dimitri and I were kind of frozen and in shock, thinking what to do. But before I could even look around, Mikhail had already jumped into the water and was swimming towards her. We called out to him immediately because we were panicking. We were telling him it was not safe, but he would not listen. He did not even say a word back to us. At some point, probably when Mikhail was probably around 3/4 of the way there, this woman, she stopped splashing and shouting. She has become awfully still, really quiet, and is just stationary. She's quite far away from the boat, so it's hard to make out her facial expression, but she does not look panicked at all from what I can see. And Mikhail is just going and going, and so we start calling again and telling him to just be careful. And then this woman, she kinda just lets herself fall backwards into the water. I see her do this backwards flip almost as she goes under, like when a diver goes backwards off a boat. And then I see something as she does this. Because she did this flip, I saw her legs come out of the water. Only she didn't have any legs. She had this, what I can only describe as a long tail-like thing. It had scales all over it, with streaks of red going through it in lines. It was incredibly thick and long. It was not like anything I'd ever seen. It shined in our lights, glimmered even. It was at this point I had such a horrible feeling. Mikhail clearly saw this, but he just would not stop. He looked up, and he saw what we saw, but he just kept on going. I don't know what was wrong with him. Why would he just ignore his friends like that? We started to hear that singing again, those notes being held but muffled by the water. And eventually it stopped, and I thought that I could hear laughter. Just a giggle, the giggle of a woman, really high-pitched. And all of a sudden, quicker than my eyes could even comprehend, I saw Mikhail being snatched underneath the water. 1 second he was there, swimming, bobbing, looking around for this woman. The next, I saw his arms fly above his head as he shot downwards, as if he was on a roller coaster going downhill. I did not see him resist or fight back. I could not see much of anything, aside from a thick red cloud starting to form in the water. I was frozen in place, just shocked by what I had just seen. But Dimitri, I suppose he saved our lives. He grabbed me and shook me and slapped me and made sure that I was still on Earth. He started moving the boat and forced me to help him, and I just did everything that he said. I could hear splashing sounds coming from behind us as we tried to get away. They were becoming more aggressive and getting much closer to the boat. Until at one point, we felt a wave or something else, possibly coming from underneath us directly. And the pressure of whatever it was, it caused our boat to almost tip over. I would have been in the water myself if Dimitri had not grabbed me with both hands and stopped me. I'm not sure I would have made it back into the boat. I think I would have been in too much shock. Eventually, we hear a loud thump, and it sounds like we have run into something. All of the forward momentum that we had is just gone, and we have come to a halt and are bobbing up and down. And we started to see something rise out of the water ever so slowly. I saw the splash, and then I saw nothing, and then I saw a body. It was Mikhail's body. I knew because I could see the t-shirt that he was wearing. He always wore the same t-shirt with the pink panther on it, and I recognized it. I recognized all of the image flicking away from how long he owned it. But Mikhail, he didn't have a head. It looked like his head had been ripped off of his shoulders by something incredibly sharp. All I could see was a gaping hole of blackness. The body went belly up, and Dmitri was trying desperately to use the paddle to shove the body out of the way. I guess it would be quicker than turning, but I'm not sure. I wasn't fully mentally present at this point. Maybe Dmitri was just panicked. Too panicked to think about turning the boat and going in a different direction. Maybe he thought that a straight shot was our only chance. I remember at one point, Dmitri reached out his hand. He was trying to use more leverage than he had with the paddle. And just, that thing, it came out of nowhere. It shot from underneath the leg with so much force that we started rocking again. I could hear Dmitri screaming, and I saw blood coming from his hand. He was shaking so hard, and I could see multiple, tiny piercing wounds left deep inside his hand. The wounds, they looked like the teeth had been sunken deep and just dragged downwards. We just kept going. We were in full autopilot mode. We were just putting in as much effort as we possibly could. Every now and again, we would see these massive impacts in the water, and our boat would start rocking, and we would have to struggle to get it back under control and not end up in the water. We would hear these loud thumps, like something heavy was hitting the underside of the boat, and I would hear these scraping sounds. At one point, this thing, it raised its body up entirely so that we could see. She looked like a human woman before, but she didn't really look like that anymore. Her complexion had changed so quickly. She looked sickly and more like a monster. And she bit into the boat. I think this thing was trying to get me, but it got the boat instead. We were so close to land, but water was leaking into the boat. I knew immediately because I could feel the wetness. We were so close that we just dove in and tried to swim, and we managed to get there just about. I don't know how we even survived. We just left the boat behind. We just ran all the way back to our cabin. That night was horrible. We were far away from everything, and we had no way to contact the polizia in that moment. We had to wait until the sun was out, and we rushed there, and I told them the story, that our friend was missing in the lake, attacked by something evil. We were laughed at. They shook their heads and told us that only children should make up silly stories. I got angry. We were serious. Eventually, they relented, just so that we would leave, but we had to wait. We almost ended up in jail for wasting their time. They found our boat abandoned there, but there was no sign of our friend in the water, no sign of any blood or anything else. We were told that if we came up to them again with bullshit like that, then they would lock us up. The reaction that we got from people local to the area was much the same. Laughed out of every single bar that we went to. No one believed us. That was until we stopped into this little old place on the journey back home. It was in this rural village. It wasn't even much of a bar, but the local community still gathered and drank there. We talked to this old man. He must have been around 70 years old. He told us about this legend he heard as a boy. I think they're called Rusalka, is what he said. He said that they are water spirits and only appear as women. He said that they are evil entities and will do anything that they can to harm people. I wasn't sure what to make of what he said, but either way, I remained in a state of shock for a long time. I stopped going fishing. In fact, I stopped speaking to Dmitri almost entirely. Whenever we were in a room together, it got awkward, and it was like we were strangers once again. I guess we both just decided independently that just forgetting was the easier thing to do. I forgot to mention, but Dmitri went back to the lake just before we left. Even in the daytime, I was still scared, so I stayed behind. He said the place was full to the brim with people, but that our boat had just been left there, although by now it had drifted inwards and gotten washed up. He said that we were not crazy and that we did not make anything up, that he saw these big gouges all on the underside of the boat that looked like they had been made with something incredibly sharp. To this day, I have no idea what we saw or how we got so lucky to survive. Either way, I don't think I will go near water ever again, especially not that lake. When this happened to me, I was just chilling with my cousin. We are in the woods in the hills behind his house. We use our machetes to clear out a path through the tall grass from his backyard to the only tree that's on the hill. We clear out a round area by the tree. We set up a camp, make a hole, and get a bonfire going. We cook some chicken, we talk shit all day and just relax. It's nearing dusk. The fire is still going, and we get pretty comfy just talking about stupid shit. I start noticing a distant noise, like a faint laughter, whenever we talk to each other. We keep on talking, but now I'm paying attention to the weird noise. My cousin speaks, and the noise starts again. It sounds like a mocking kind of laughter. It sounds really stupid. I tell my cousin, so that now we are both alert. We keep talking, but keep on listening at the same time. The noise keeps going every time we talk, but it stops when we stop. I stand up to look around, since the tall grass blocks our view. I look towards where the sound is coming from. It's a line of small trees and bushes. I see it. I see a black humanoid silhouette with big red glowing eyes hunched down underneath the small trees. We stare at each other for a moment, then I sit back down again. We keep on talking. I tell my cousin what I saw and where exactly it is. We keep talking for a little bit. The noise continues. My cousin slowly stands up to check it out himself. He confirms what I saw and sits back down. He tells me I'm not crazy. We decide to get the hell out of there because what the fuck? We bury the bonfire and grab our machetes. We both stand up, facing the thing. The thing sees us get ready, and it stands straight up. The sun is going down, but now we can see it pretty well. It's about the same size as us, pretty bulky, completely black, like 75 feet away from us. My cousin asks me, what do we do? I tell him to slowly start walking towards the house, no sudden movements. I follow him, still facing the thing, tightening my grip on the machete. As we make our way away, the thing starts to follow us along the line of the bushes, parallel to us. I never take my eyes off of that thing. We are almost there. The line of bushes stops quite a way away from Cousin's house. The thing stops there and just watches us. We get to the backyard and jump the fence. We finally made it. My cousin turns some lights on. We call his brothers to come and see the thing. The thing is still watching us from the bushes. It stays around for a while, then makes some loud noises and goes away after night finally falls. I never knew what the hell it was, but my cousin kept hearing weird shit around his house some nights. I was around 16 years old when this happened. I am partying in Europe with my French cousin. We go to some place near the Switzerland-French border where you can camp but be near civilization too. We have a party in a camp like 15 minutes away from civilization. My big cousin takes me there. We are getting drunk. We meet two cute girls. They want me to come to the night party and hang out with them. Awesome. I meet up with the two girls and their two friends. We are all dancing and stuff. One is better looking, so I focus on her. The other dips and starts looking for other guys to dance with. We'll call her Stacy. She's important. I'm not even mad. The girl I am with takes me to her car. After a while, we sit at a bench by her campsite for a bit. Two friends, not Stacy, come looking for us. They ask if we've seen her. We haven't. The girls say that she is not answering her phone. I say she's probably with a guy, because I saw her flirting with dudes at the party tent. The girl I was with shuts down completely, talking about how this is all her fault. I am consoling her and stuff. She insists that she should have never left her alone, and I don't know what's going on. What the hell is going on? The other girls tell me to help them look for her. The whole place is fenced off, so I suggest we ask the people at the gate to the ground if she left. Everybody is just useless. I can't even understand them. We turn half the campground into a search party, looking for her, despite the fact that I do not want to. These girls are determined to find her, and they insist that something is wrong. One girl breaks down crying, and we take her to their campsite. The girl I was with is sitting right where we left her, completely unresponsive. Me and the somewhat composed girl are looking around. I tell her that I want to split up to cover more ground, but really, I just want to sit down. My cousin comes over and tells me about these crazy lights that he saw. I thought maybe he was just high on shrooms that he brought, but he shows me the bag and none are missing. Nobody has had any. He asks if I have seen a girl named Stacy, that some chicks are looking for her. I tell him what happened. He makes fun of me, and then we chill for a while. A couple of hours later, I check on the girls. They're all at the table, Stacy too. Oh, you're back. Everyone seems really odd, except for her. I ask where she was. She tells me that she is not sure. I jokingly ask, well then, where'd you come from? She straight faces and points to a line of trees with a fence behind and says, over there. I don't know what happened, but having talked to my cousin about everything that happened, he brought it up when we got back to his place in Lyon, asking what was so important about what we talked about. And he swears it was aliens picking her up, and that somehow those girls have some kind of a history. Are there stories similar to this? I feel like aliens would not pick up people who know each other and can share their experiences. So, I am native to the Pacific Northwest and have lived in Washington my whole life. I lived in Seattle, Sammamish, and Bellingham mostly. Over the years of being immersed in the occult, constantly seeking, and being pretty well connected here, I've picked up a lot of interesting insights into the area. From deep in the woods to the corruption of the city. I can definitely share more of what I know later if anyone is interested. Actually, I have a ton of strange stories and can do more green text later too, if you want. But I will start with one crazy experience that I had with vampires. I was around 16 or 17 years old at the time. I was in high school. I used to party all of the time. Me and my friends were wild in high school, always looking for parties to go to. We couldn't find anything happening that Friday night. I was hanging with some guys and girls. We decided to go into the city and go to the university, hoping to maybe crash a frat party. We drive around campus and screw around a bit. I'm asking people if we can come party at their frats. Of course, everyone says no. We are dumb high schoolers. Finally, some much older dude walks by. He's in his early 30s. We ask him if we can go to his party. He seems totally down and says sure, follow me. Okay, sweet. We tell him we'll give him a ride. He hops in our car, and his spot is only like a block or two away. This is Greek Row in Seattle, so it's all big old mansions. We get out of the car, and he leads us up to this big gated mansion. It's super nice. It's not atypical though. There are tons of frats here, but this is not as trashed. He leads us through the gate and up inside the house or whatever. It's full of people. There's a pretty wide variety of people too. Sorta youngish looking early 30s people, but not college aged. They are older than college age, but still seem pretty cool. There's a diverse group of people. There is a black guy with dreads. There are some Asian people, etc. People from all over. They seem to be having a good time, not raging or anything, just drinking and maybe reeling something in the corner, I don't know. The one thing everyone did have in common, everyone had huge fangs. Fangs like you'd imagine a vampire would have for canines. Like, really good and realistic looking fangs. I'm just a teenager, so I'm thinking, what the fuck? There were like a couple dozen people just chilling, drinking, all with fangs. This random dude comes up to me and says, "Oh, are you here for the vampire party too?" He smiles at me, all friendly. Nope. I gather all of my friends, and we get the hell out of there so fast. We went out and found a different party and got super messed up. I never really dwelt on it much with my friends. It could have just been LARPers with really good prosthetic fangs or whatever, but they would have been expensive. They were legit looking, like I said. I mean, I wouldn't put it past a bunch of people in Seattle to LARP as vampires. There's plenty of people into the occult, and that are that cringy. But who knows? I sure as hell don't want to know, Lamau. Anyways, I always wondered how they had one of the nicest mansions in the city if they were not a frat. It's a funny-ass experience looking back. It wasn't particularly scary back then, but I would not ever have wanted to stick around. It was really weird vibes.